Oh, wait! I almost forgot!
Half-Life Alyx, one of the most critically acclaimed VR games of this century. Half-Life, one of the most dedicated and beloved gaming series to ever exist. I have loved playing Half-Life Alyx. I have played this game about 3 to 4 times already, and I already have been thinking, one of the big integral parts of the game is gunplay. So, I pose the question, can you beat Half-Life Alyx without a gun? Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Chris Mad with Visnomadic. Getting started, we obviously open the door. During this time, I'd like to shout out, obviously, my inspirations. MahDryBread, a very good friend of mine who's been doing Pokemon challenges for a very long time. And of course, Mittensquad for pretty much setting the standard for challenges. I thought this would be something interesting because I have just fallen in love with this game. Get knocked out, wake up, get knocked out again, open a door, get out, get ready to meet the love of my life. Ratatouille, Remy. We go to the playground. Ratatouille disintegrates. I lose him. Found him again. A lot of this area is obviously just kind of moot. Don't have to worry about too much because we don't even have the gun. Click the button. Meet Russell for the first time in person in the game. Show him Remy. It's at this point I'm starting to realize that I didn't get the achievements, so I went ahead and took care of that. Said goodbye to Remy. Got the gravity gloves. Put them on. Always thought that animation was pretty cool. And then I stumbled outside. I didn't realize how much longer I would be living in this small back lot. I did the first demonstrations of the gravity gloves by putting on a hat. It didn't fit, so I put it down. Decided to maybe start my next achievement. If you didn't know, there's a gnome back here, and this is the same gnome from Half-Life Episode 2 that you have to take and put in a rocket. You have to go through the entire game with him. I reimagined the same cutscene from the trailer. I had a gnome this time, though, so there's a little bit different. That's my original take. Didn't take the gun. It's kind of the whole point of the run. One of the big problems, though, is that there's this lock here, and the only way to get past the lock is to shoot the lock, thus already causing a big issue for the run. I have to pass this door without shooting the lock. So I had always been a big glitch hunter before all of my content on YouTube, before everything that I'd done. One of the big things I had always focused on was breaking games. One of the big series I was always into was Halo. But Half-Life was another game that had plenty of glitches. But Half-Life Alyx is a little bit different. It's entirely in VR. So I had to think outside the box. I had to think fourth dimensionally. So I started out some attempts of potentially walking out of bounds and then pausing back in. Be mindful, I didn't take any time to research anybody else's methods for doing anything like this. I hadn't watched any speed runs. I watched 1 or 2 videos to know that there are ways to go out of bounds, but I didn't really research them beyond just trying it myself. One of the first things I wanted to try to do was either go over or under. I was really trying to get on top of this car. I realized I couldn't just teleport on top of it. One of the big factors here is that you can't really teleport on top of any of the objects that you can also pick up, which caused a lot of issues for trying to go up further. Took a note from Boneworks. Didn't really seem to work out for me, though. I tried to crawl into the truck. I realized there was a boundary there that I couldn't really get past. And then I had a sight at the fence. And I'd always thought about the fact that in a lot of games, they tend not to put the boundaries at the corners or at the back. It's really just an invisible wall, and as an invisible wall is, it's just one little sheet of plane. So I had a few ideas of how to cross this fence. Going down, I couldn't get low enough to get past the boundary, though. I kept on trying to bring in other objects, if anything I could use to pick up. I decided that because it was super annoying to hear Russell say that the gun was on top of the car, I picked the gun up, but I'm not going to use it. I didn't load it. I didn't do anything with it. I took the ammo, and I loaded it in the gun so it would stop mentioning that stuff. But I didn't fire it, and I didn't do anything with it. So, back to where we were. We still with a lock gate. I was hoping that would trigger something to potentially remove the invisible wall that was ahead of me. So I went back trying to get on top of the car. Didn't work out. Realized I could get on top of the door frame, but I started looking around to see if there was anything to jump to, potentially over the fence or something, but there was nothing I could reach. But this was enough of a breakthrough for me to try some stuff. I tried to put a box here to potentially like move my body up, but I realized that wasn't going to work because the object was basically tangible. I could walk right through it. The door shut on me. I was a little scared by that. I kept on looking for something to grab. There wasn't really anything else in the area. I started wondering if I should have brought something from a previous area, but the more and more I realized I didn't have the gloves before this area, so there would have been no real reason to bring anything. So I decided to go back inside to try to find some alternative answers. Realized this car had worked, and realized I could jump on top of this car, which I found kind of weird that you could jump on the car in the garage but not the one outside. I turned on subtitles because why not? And this is where I had another breakthrough, that I realized that the height that I was deciding on the fact of where I would go. And I was flashed back to a developer explanation of how they got the teleportation tracking done. One of the big things they did was to make sure that the height of the player would decide where they would end up. But if there's no collision where the head is going to be located when you make the teleport, you can just teleport, which is how I got out of bounds here. It was the first site, a new site that I've had, and the new angle I've had this entire time. It had already passed about I'd say about an hour here, so I had gotten pretty tired of not having any kind of real answer. I got back up on the car, hoping that potentially would lead to somewhere else. I knew that I was inside a warehouse that had a roof, so what I did was I angled myself to get on top of the shelf there. Did the same trick one more time. Got my hands above the ceiling, which I think played a part. I think it registers your head and your hands where they're all at, and if it doesn't work out, it'll teleport you back. I made a quick save here, and then I moved up a little bit higher. I realized that I could actually physically move myself in the real world. So I actually got a box, stood on top of the box, and moved myself higher in the real world to get myself just the right amount of height, and there I was on top of the roof. I did obviously what any sane person would do. I saved. I now also notice that there's another invisible wall here. I couldn't really reach anything here on terms of the fence, which was kind of a bummer. I thought it would lead to something, but there was no place to stand up on the top of the fence there. There was a kill plane right next to me here, so any jump from there wouldn't be enough. So I had to find the right distance and height. I was starting to get a little roadblocked here, but then I had a thought. If you can't go to the fence, maybe I could go the long way. So I started making my way around the exterior of the building. There were these little, I guess, canisters that were sticking outside the back end of the building where you get your Russells. And I started reeling around the side. Now this is interesting. This is actually where you see that Strider, and I fell and died. But
Alex, you still there?
the entire area is deloaded. It's actually kind of fascinating how much they play on the idea that you are going to not see all this. Something weird happened with my hand there. Didn't know what that was all about. Tried to work back. Russell became a creepypasta as he watched me. Then I tried again at the roof.
Absolutely not.
Still no distance
Why, were you
here.
considering it?
I think I made a breakthrough here without even realizing it, but I decided to keep attempting stuff. I noticed it finally, and I made my first step forward. I am now on top of the fence. However, there is still an invisible wall. So this whole opportunity of going up was pretty much all for naught because I couldn't do anything to get past the roof part. I saved and loaded and tried a few other things. I moved across them. I was wondering if I could get on top of the truck to the left of me there, but nothing let me go any further from there on the left side. Obviously, I don't have the full education about the engine of Half-Life Alyx. I mean, the game just came out, but I know that there's plenty of people that just dissect the heck out of this stuff. Source 2 is going to be a lot of fun for people to kind of dissect over the next couple of years, especially as more games come out, which I am also very excited about. Doing all the out of bounds things, I think, caused the game to start freaking out on me consistently. So the frame rate went down, the game finally crashed. That wasn't good. After taking a breather, and the game almost crashing one more time, I tried from a fresh start to kind of give myself a new perspective. So I moved up onto the car, and I realized that I couldn't really move up there. But then I could move up to the right side, so I opened up the back door, and then I wedged in there, and da-da-ding, I was on top of the car, and guess what? I could quickly get up to the roof. So, that kind of stunk, because all that work was pretty much unnecessary. I could do the same process in seconds, but, you know, that's the life of a speedrunner, I guess. Tried to pull this box in, wondering if that would cause any kind of extra collision. It was a different kind of object that was outside my range, so I thought I'd try it. It did have some different physics, which I thought could have been helpful for me. I put it on top of this thing, and it spun around, which was kind of cool. Didn't really help me, though. I realized I couldn't stand on it, which wasn't very helpful. I thought it could collide into me, which caused me to do it, but all it did was break the box, which wasn't very good. From all my time playing Half-Life 2 and Gary's mod, that when two physics collide, you would get in pretty much what would seem like an explosion. That's what I started testing here, was to see if I could collide two objects together to cause a replication of a gunshot. Now, I tried with the piece of box I just broke. I tried to collide that with the chair, but I came to realize that they actually pretty much fixed that in Source 2, so that answer led to nowhere. It was time to do one last option. I had to think even more fourth dimensionally. I took one step deeper into the settings, and I found a floor fix under the CMOS. Now, be mindful, I'm using the Oculus Rift here. So it's kind of weird when you put two, like the VR set and the software together. And I realized that I could make myself low enough that when I ducked down, I would be underneath the world. And guess what? There was still an invisible wall. They had thought about that, to put an invisible wall underneath. So I fix the floor again. I keep on going down deeper. I start crawling, realizing there's nowhere really to go. I see the bird of truth. He gives me a little of inspiration here. I pray to the gods, trying to see if I can maybe duck underneath the truck. I'm always thinking about like loading zones or something else, because that's all I need to do is find a loading zone. And I catch something with my eye. It's actually the menu. Hey, boundary break. My Twitter is @MrChrisMad. I'm now a boundary breaker, and I found something interesting. We take the camera wherever we want. So I try to go lower, and I try to look around. The bird of truth comes by one more time to give me all the hope that I need, and he pushes me through. I don't know why it suddenly worked here. I think I became low enough, but we've done it. We've gone past the lock. We've actually are moving now. So now that we're moving forward without a gun, I mean, we technically got a gun. All I have to do is fix the floor and get back up. And we're on our way. And look who's waiting for us, the gnome. So, we've officially beat the first area without a gun, which I think has led us to better prospects. And thankfully I have my gnome friend and a place to sleep. It's time to have a good hug. But then I thought, why isn't the plot progressing? Usually Russell's supposed to be talking right about now, and that's when I realized that the shooting of the lock is an important trigger to continue the story. So, I'm locked inside this subway car, nowhere to run, nowhere to go, door won't open. I reload the save, trying to think that that might do something for me. It didn't. I'm still stuck inside here. I tried one more attempt of fixing the floor to try to get underneath the cart. Maybe I could crawl my way to the next loading zone, I thought. But no, there's no way to get low enough. And not to mention, the whole world outside of me has completely despawned. The entire parking lot's gone. but the train hasn't started moving, which is what we need it to do to load into the next zone. I actually found that to be a common issue with Source engine software, is that there's always some kind of trigger you have to do to continue the story, and if you don't have that trigger, the game just soft locks. So I'm now stuck in the soft lock. I decided to go back to the drawing board. I realized that I even had the gun, so I thought, what if I go back far enough that I don't even get the gun? Rematched with my friend Remy. Found him again. He was hiding in the corner, this silly little rat. Got him. Met with Russell again. Showed him my rat Remy. Got some cool shots of him talking. Facial animations in this game is amazing. Cool animation again for the gloves. Just now realized they're microwaves. I got my gnome friend. Thought that was important to get. Threw him over the fence. And then I tried my trick one more time. I got low enough. Waited for my bird of freedom. I bugged up a lot, but I finally got through. Fixed my height. Picked up my hand. No gun. No nothing. No gun, no nothing. Hopefully this would trigger it in a different sense because I was further on.
Yep. Oh, wait. I almost forgot.
And we're still stuck. So, that's the problem. You can't go past this area without having a gun and shooting the lock. So, with that failure, I decided to lay down to rest with my gnome friend and go to sleep. So, the question, can you beat Half-Life Alyx without a gun? No. That's the sad truth of it. There's no way to get past this door lock. There's no way to do anything without a gun. So I thought to myself, could you beat Half-Life Alyx with just one bullet? No, because you gotta shoot a lock right after, and that sucks.